What's up, everybody? How we doing today? Gonna take a look at another Rush song. We're gonna look at the Camera Eye off of Moving Pictures. Great song, great guitar solo. A little tricky. It's got some tough stuff in it, some alternate picking, but it's really fun, and we get to use the neck pickup for part of the solo too. So take it slow, and let's jump in and let's start learning it. All right, let's jump in here and take a look at the solo. So I'm gonna turn off one of my gains just for the sake of cleaning it up for demonstration purposes, but I'll turn it back on when I'm playing it at speed and stuff. So solo's it's a little tricky solo, but it's a lot of fun. So we're gonna start with the beginning. Up here, you're gonna start on the high E string with your index finger on the C sharp note. And by the way, you're in the neck pickup. So if you're playing a Les Paul or a guitar with humbuckers or even single coils, although I believe this was recorded on either a Les Paul or Alex's 355, so most likely a guitar with humbucker pickups, you're going to be in your neck pickup here, or rhythm pickup if you will. So we're going to start up here on the C sharp note, and we're going to be using a lot of vibrato too. It's very, very legato-y the way he's changing notes. So the first phrase is going to look like this, and you kind of slide up to it too. Okay, so that's the first phrase, nice and slow. It's going to kind of go up in increments of whole steps too. So we're sliding up to that C sharp, whole step, another whole step, and then kind of a whole step bend there. A little vibrato. We're doing a little bit of vibrato in between all these notes. So then you're going down a half step to the 12th fret of E, and then 13 B, and then 12 G. Okay, one more time. This is the first phrase. Okay, so let's look at the second phrase now. Okay, so you're going to come up here to the C note, and you're sliding in too. Whole step, up to the 10th fret of E, then you're going to go to 11th fret on B, so it's going to look like this. Okay, and so then you're going to pull off from the 12th fret on E to the 8th fret of E, you'll pull off, and then pick the 8th fret of B. So the second phrase is going to look like this. And you're giving it some, every time you hold a note, you give it vibrato. Okay, so let's take a look at what we got so far. Okay, and then at that last note, that B, or that 8th fret of B, slide off, okay? Now we're going to get into the next phrase of the solo. It's going to start up here on the low E string C sharp. So instead of the high E string, we're on a low E string now. The next phrase is going to look like this. Okay, so let's go slow there, walk you through it. Again, we're sliding up, C sharp. It's a little muddy because you're in the rhythm pickup, but don't worry about that. So 1, 2, 3. You're going to come up to 8 and then to 9, so start on 9, C sharp. Now this next part's pretty cool. You're going to slide to the next note. So it's going to look like this. Okay, it's the 6th fret of G. And you're going to give it some vibrato. Okay, then you're going to come up here to the 10th fret on G. And you're going to slide up to the 11th fret, so it's going to look like this, coming out of this phrase. So coming out of this phrase, okay, so it's going to look like this. And it's kind of all one pick. So I'm picking the 10th fret of G, and then I'm sliding up to 11, and then I'm bending. But I'm not picking each time I'm sliding and then bending. It's kind of one pick, and then what we call kind of legato, sort of, because it's very smooth, it's synchronized. And then he bends it down and then back up again. So, okay. Okay, so let's put that together. Then the next part, we're going to come to the 9th fret of G. 9. Give it some vibrato. Then we're going to go up to the 10th fret of G. I use my middle finger for this. And we're going to bend that up a half step. Then release it. Then pick 9th fret of G again, and then go to the 10th fret on B and bend it up a whole step. So it's going to look like this. And he kind of bends it up a whole step, kills it, and then bends it up a whole step again, and then gives it some vibrato. Now when you get to that last note, that's when he goes into the treble pickup, or into the bridge pickup. So that would look like this. Okay, so let's do everything we got so far. And sometimes when he plays it live too, he doesn't always pick it exactly 3 times here, and then, you know, it's a little kind of give and take. It's not exactly one of those solos that he's going to play exactly note for note every time if you watch him play it live. But this is pretty much what he's doing in the recording. So let's take it from the top of the solo again. That last note, vibrato, then slide down. Okay, now the next part of the solo is a little tricky if you're not too familiar with tremolo picking. So tremolo picking is essentially when the pick is going up and down in usually 16th notes on the same string. So if you're not familiar with that style of picking, it does take a little practice. When I tremolo pick, I actually kind of switch how I hold the pick. So normally I'm kind of holding the pick with both my finger, my index and my thumb kind of down. When I tremolo pick, I turn my index finger so it's on its side like this. And what that does is it enables me to use more of a wrist motion, and then my index finger becomes kind of an anchor as opposed to kind of guiding the pick when I'm normally just doing regular picking or strumming. So again, I just kind of slide my index finger down like that. That's just what I do. You don't have to do it that way. Some players, a lot of speed players play like that. This is just what I found works for me when I'm tremolo picking. So we're going to slide up again, sensing a theme with all these sliding into each phrase. And we're going to slide up to the 13th fret of the E string. And this next phrase is going to look like this. So we're coming out of this. Okay, again, I turned off some of my gains so the pinch harmonics won't be as pronounced, but I'll turn it on when I demo that section again. Okay, so sliding up. And it starts kind of, before he starts to go into a 16th note phrase, it kind of starts with these little accents. So it's kind of like, so it kind of goes like this. That's kind of what I hear him doing in the recording. Again, live, he kind of plays it a little bit different, but this is kind of what I hear. You just practice that, get that feel. And again, with tremolo picking, we want to be nice and light. The tip of the pick is just kind of gliding over the string, and our wrist is just kind of moving like a pendulum. We're not using our full arm. We're not using the whole pick. We're not picking very hard, okay? So if you're new to this, just some techniques. So start with that little phrase. And then we're going to kind of go up here to the 16th fret. And we're going to do kind of these like pull-offs. So it's going to look like this. Okay? Now there's a little tricky part here where we do an alternate pick, a little phrase in between this tremolo picking. That can be really hard if you're a beginner. So take it slow, but it's going to look like this. So this is a very common phrase used in rock, and Alex uses it a lot. You're just going to pull off from 16 to 13, and then you're going to put your ring finger on 13 of B, and then pick down, up. Okay, down on B, up on E. Okay, so take your time with that. Try to get it clean. Okay, then we're going to go to that 16th fret of the B string, bend it up very slowly, about a whole step, and then give it some vibrato. Okay, so we got... Oops. Okay, then the string's going to be bent a whole step up. We're going to pick and release the bend. Okay. Then pick 13 on B and then 15 on B. And then slowly bend up 15 on B. Very slow, so. And this is where he throws in some pinch harmonics. So I'm going to kick on a little bit of gain here so the harmonics can be more pronounced. So it's going to sound like this. And I find these harmonics in particular, it helps to kind of have your thumb sort of near this bridge pickup, but you don't want to be muting it by having your palm here catch the string. So it might be better if I did this demo on a guitar that didn't have a Floyd Rose, but you get the idea. Just kind of like that. He's just kind of going for it. It doesn't have to be exact. Now, pinch harmonics, if you're not aware, and I'll do a lesson on this later, but just a quick overview. It's when you strike the pick, you strike the string with your pick, and then the flesh of your thumb slightly rubs against the string. Now it's all feel, so these just take time. I'll do another video on that later, but for now, that's what we're doing. So, coming off the bend of the B string on 16, then 13 to 15. Slow bend up, and then we're at the top of 15 here. Little blues lick there, so then pick 13, 14 on G, so and it's important that you're not doing, you're coming down off the bend, and then we'll pull off to 13. And you're doing an alternate pick. And giving it some vibrato. And sliding down again, okay? So let's go through that phrase again. We've got this. Vibrato on 13th fret of B, and slide down. Now we got the last phrase of the solo. This is pretty tricky. This is the hardest part of the solo. It's fairly precise. Alex doesn't always go for the super precise moments when he's doing his faster picking, but this one is pretty precise, and it's pretty difficult, and it's pretty fast. So take your time with it. You're not going to get it completely all the time either. And what I mean by that is you're not going to be completely, cleanly, alternately picking each note, because it's not supposed to be that way. That's not the way Alex plays. He's not a Paul Gilbert or a Steve Vai. He has his technique, but he also has his certain Alex feel. So the next phrase, the last phrase, is going to look like this. So we're coming out of this phrase. Okay, we're sliding up to the C sharp once again. So that's slow what we're doing. So we've got our index finger is going to stay planted on this C sharp. Then we're going to come up to the 13th of E, pull off, and then hit the 12th fret of B, strike that, and then alternate pick back to that C sharp, the 9th fret on E. So it's going to look slowly like this. The fingers I use are pinky and then middle, while your index stays rooted on the 9th fret of E. So that's the phrase, but it's played this fast. Turn off some gain. Okay, then you're going to do the exact same thing, just slide your finger down a half step to the 8th fret. Okay, so, and then, okay, so that phrase is going to look like this. Now this last phrase, so take your time with that, take it nice and slow. Really good technique and really good stuff to work on. Now this last phrase, it's a little weird because it feels like it's purposely syncopated, and what I mean by that is it feels like it's supposed to be slightly like off tempo or something. This is the way I play it. I've seen Alex play it this way live, and I can't remember what recording it was, but I saw him do this live, and I said, that's cleaner. So what I mean by that is it's going to look like this. So you're coming off this last phrase. Then you're just going to start here on the 12th fret of E, and we're going to do alternate picks, but just on one string. So it's going to be 12, 8, 10, 12, so it's going to look like this. That's the way that I've seen him play, and it sounds a little cleaner to me. So that's the way I'm going to teach it. So, okay, so we'll come out of the last phrase. Okay, now in the recording, they dubbed this last note here, and it's just going to be the 5th fret of B, and you're going to slowly do a whole step then. And give it some vibrato. Now, he's going back into the... But in the recording, like I said, they have another guitar that... So what I do when I'm playing this song is I actually do this part. And then go into the rhythm part after. So what that's going to look like is coming out of this phrase. And since we're just focusing on the solo here, that's where it would stop, not going into that next phrase, because we're not covering that. So that's the solo. It's a little tricky, a little tough to explain, because it's once you learn it, it's very feel-based. And so when you actually have to think about where your fingers go, it can get a little confusing. But that's the solo. Go back, rewind, pause, take your time with it. I'm going to play it from the top, slow, and then I'll play it at speed. I'm going to kick on the gain, and we're going to play it slow. So play along or just watch. Here we go. Put it in the right pickup. Okay, now let's play that speed. It's hard to play that one really slow because some of the alternate picking will get a little jumbly, but hopefully that gives you an idea at a slower tempo. Now we'll play it at tempo. Now we'll play it at tempo. Alright, well that does it for today's lesson. Hope you enjoyed the solo to the camera eye. It's a tough little solo, but it's a lot of fun. So take your time, go slow, work at that. It's got a lot of great techniques you can take into learning other songs. If there's other solos or certain bands you want to learn songs by, drop a comment below. Make sure to subscribe, like the channel, and stay tuned for the next video. Thank you.